way quick. Boop, 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 boop. Turned into the boop hour. I don't know why I'm searching for it.
Okay.
Did I?
Hey, look at that.
You got it working?
Kill Chrome and it works fine. Did you tell me what?
There you go. All right. Fucking Steve was using us in his stream.
Didn't I call him out on that?
I don't remember.
I think I said something. Yeah, I think I said something to him in Discord. Like, hey, why aren't you using PHPUgly? La 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 la. I had to shut down Chrome, so now I got to open everything back up.
All right, but you're all good with the Zencastr? Boom. Zencastr is a go. Boop. All right. Okay, let me retweet. Oh. Where is it? Retweet with quotes.
Lay down. Use pee on my carpet?
You all good, John?
No.
I gotta fire up Discord. Discord. What's happening right now with Discord? Boop. There we go. Here we go. Let's go, Buttery. Buttery's ready. Oh, crap. I need to actually fire up the bots. TS.
Hey, Sarah's here too. It's the whole crew tonight. Jeez.
Yay!
We're gonna have anything to talk about.
Sarah's here.
We can always rely on our old friends Discord.
I need to figure out where I have my bot hosted at. I forget.
Took my dog out to pee before the stream, and he still just peed in my house.
Puppies are a delight.
It's his way of telling him he loves you. Alright. Bot is in Discord. Need to do some botness in the water for mind control. Hey, and we're all magnetic, and Wi-Fi is awesome in my house because we're all vaccinated. So
Each
Wi-Fi's
one of
never
you
been
is
stronger.
an independent
We have
5G tower.
And we're magnetically attracted to each other. We have a stronger bond than ever. Buttery, god damn it, we haven't even started the stream yet. Oh, we have started the stream. We haven't started the show yet. Bill, I've got a real concern about.
It's because it's hot and sticky out there. Maybe. It is hot. All right.
Everybody's here to start the stream. We should start it. What do you think?
Start the show.
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
Start the show. Where are we at?
How do you do that?
normally we have some music that plays first. But...
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. And shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet, unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly, cause it's not professional. But I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. Okay, I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go.
You're listening to episode 241 of PHPUgly, your ASMR for developers. But, you know, not as sexy or calming or pleasant. But we do make noises that some PHP developers will appreciate. I'm your host, Eric Van Johnson, and with me is John Congdon.
This template is used by integration test only.
And Tom Right.
That's perfect. Perfect sound. Perfect
ASMR.
sound right here.
Have you guys been following this ASMR thing on Twitch?
Like some new thing?
Not on Twitch.
It's
not.
I don't know if it's new on Twitch or not. I pop onto Twitch. I've gotten where I hit Twitch now pretty much every day. There's a few developers I follow who stream during the day. And there's been this whole thing going on in Twitch with these hot tubs and these ladies in hot tubs. It's usually ladies. Occasionally there's a dude. And I don't understand it. I mean, I'm a dude and I understand it. But it's like the amount of viewers they have just boggles my mind. Well, today, Twitch will suggest streams to hit. And today, none of my streamers are streaming. So I'm, clicking through. And I'm like, what is... I noticed a few streamers tagging it ASMR. And I'm like, ASMR? What is this? Somebody put up a stream in their backyard and just listening to, leaves and stuff? What is it? I clicked on it. There's this whole thing right now on Twitch under ASMR of, these ladies licking these ear microphones and whispering in them. And it's it is bizarre. And it just breaks my heart because the streamer I was watching was actually a pretty... Careful. I forget her name exactly. But you've seen her tweets a lot. She's this developer who makes these funny TikToks. But she was on there doing some JavaScript, and she goes away, and she had and she's one of the more popular female developer streamers that I watch, and she had I think 50 people watching her. These people doing these ASMR streams are 30,000-40,000 people watching them. And I'm like, what world do we live in right now? Why is this going on? I watched it for 30-40 minutes. I mean, this is crazy. This is nuts.
Also, I mean, kids these days will not get off their phones. It's driving me crazy.
It's not just kids.
I don't get that segment, but okay.
Oh boy. Yes, Eric discovers the internet.
Should we at least tell people what ASMR is instead of just rambling about it for 5 minutes?
Oh yeah, I forget what actually. Sarah just posted in a Discord at discord.phpugly.com if you care to contribute.
And oh my gosh, it's popping before the show even started. There's so many people in there.
I know, there's a lot.
You should join us in chat.
So it's autonomous sensory
Meridian response.
What's this next word?
Meridian response.
Meridian response. So when I see that or when I hear about it, I think of like, you know, all the sounds of rain or these like ambient noise.
It's not quite that. The idea was originally that some people, they get a tingling sensation in their body when they hear certain sounds, and so people started recording just videos of them making sounds into microphones, and it became a weird quote unquote not sexual thing on YouTube. And then it turns out that Twitch, a platform designed for teenage boys, has a lot of teenage boys on it who would love to see girls make weird sounds and splash around in hot tubs. So,
yeah, it's disappointing. Very disappointing.
Is my mic doing the thing again where my voice is deeper?
Might be.
I see Buttery says that doesn't sound too bad to me.
Yeah. What can I say? I finally hit puberty.
the other testy finally dropped.
Let's talk about that.
Let's not. Let's think of anything else to talk about than that.
Oh. How about your weeks? How were your weeks?
Does nobody want to know why I opened with this template is used by integration tests only, or should I just move on and pretend that I never said that?
That totally is where I was about to take it, Jeroe.
Well, let's hear about it. Let's hear about your week and about what the hell that means.
My week's been good. I'm still loving event sourcing and unit testing. Got to help somebody, a good friend of mine, with some testing earlier this week, which was a lot of fun.
You must be a weak developer if you needed your help with something.
We got you straightened out. Got to teach him a few tricks. Yeah.
Not only did he help me with testing, but it was testing specific to Livewire.
Really?
Because I had the idea of, okay, this client I'm working on, again, very cool person, very, very open to me doing my thing, and I appreciate it, and I'm having such a blast. Not trying to hijack John's week here. But I started thinking, I'm like, man, I'm doing all this cool Livewire stuff. I really need to write tests around it so that if something goes sideways, the first reaction is, well, it must be Livewire. So I started writing Livewire tests around all my Livewire components, and I pulled John in. I'm like, John, I need some help. And we hashed it out for about a half hour, getting a few things working. It was fun. So I actually wrote some tests, Livewire tests.
Did you continue past that, or did you, once we hung up, you just stopped and moved on?
No, I deleted all those tests we wrote. I'm like, nah, I don't need this. It's fine.
I got plenty.
No, I didn't continue, but I have it on my plate to do. I have one more component I need to do, and then I'm going to write tests around that component. And I actually have another component I need to backfill as well.
So what are you using for testing Livewire?
Yeah, it's
PHP unit. Livewire has tests built into it.
Speaking of, never mind. That was a weird transition that didn't really help because I was talking about the wrong library. So I'm going to go back to that later. The whole "this template is used" thing. It's great that people have integration tests. It's understandable to have a template that is used only in integration tests. But if you're a big company, say HBO Max, you probably don't want those going out to everybody.
Oh, why would that actually happen?
What?
Yeah, we signed up. My wife signed up for HBO Max because the kids wanted to watch something, and I guess it's included with our HBO subscription. And So yeah, today, just before the show, I got integration test email number 1. This template is used by integration tests only. And I'm like, okay, so big companies have mistakes too. It's like somebody screwed up their integration environment.
Oopsie. We had a bit of an environment problem this week.
Mishap? What was that?
Just one of those things that you get the company-wide policy email that says, like, hey, testing on every single thing. Don't screw around. Also, no one but me has permission to do a lot of these high-level things now. And, put the fear in people. It was a fun one. Been very busy. Been writing lots and lots and lots of tests. Integrating with APIs, doing the whole thing. It's so weird working on a really well-written code base. Because you think, like, yeah, this is going to take...
It feels perfectly normal to me.
You should see this code base, because you would just look at it and go, ugh. Like, everything is just so polished and perfect. And it's really stunning. It feels sometimes like it slows things down. You can't just write something and push it out the door the same day. But the quality that you get out of it is so impressive. So I've been doing that. I've been upgrading my code quality and my tests.
You getting more comfortable in the code base?
Yeah, quite a bit more comfortable. In the areas that I'm working in, there's definitely black holes that I haven't seen yet. It's scary. But yeah, I'm getting much more comfortable with it.
That's good. Glad to hear that.
You see, John, you bring it up, and all of a sudden the topic is trending on Twitter. We have that much clout in the social webs now. You just mention it, and everybody rushes to Twitter and starts talking about it. Or maybe it was there before. I don't know.
Because we've been streaming for more than 2 hours now, of course.
Yeah, we just got to have our hot tubs.
Yeah, Darling Data on Discord is asking if anyone uses PHP Stan, and I have not used it. I've seen it. You say that they make an amazing test to PHP Stan and PHP Unit. I always looked at it as one or the other. I've never really thought about using them in tandem.
What does PHP Stan bring to the table that's different?
Actually, PHP Stan it's not a testing framework. It's a static analyzer. So I don't know why I even tried to equate the two.
I might actually be using it.
The big testing, I think, isn't Psalm the big testing one that everybody's using now?
There's a few. Nope. There was that one that we talked about on the PHP Magazine podcast.
Yeah, I thought that was
last month
Psalm
as well.
There's Psalm.
Maybe it was.
Laravel has a new one.
Oh no, Psalm's a static analysis tool as well, so that's not even testing.
Pest is the Laravel
Pest,
thing.
That's the Laravel one. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
I like.
So yeah, I've been crazy busy programming, and I'm enjoying
testing.
It. Yeah, Livewire stuff, man. Every day is just such a joy when I get to work. Found myself today. I've said this in the past on the podcast, and I stand firmly behind it. Livewire needs to become the de facto Blade component in Laravel. So Laravel has its own view component that you can use, which is essentially kind of like Livewire, minus all the cool JavaScript-y stuff you can do with it. And I had started using that in this project before I went to Livewire because I wasn't sure where they stood on it. And I talked to the client. I'm like, hey, I'd really like to... I'm seeing some real good spots to use this Livewire. And he was like, yeah, fine, just use Livewire. But now I have like stuff in Livewire components and I have stuff in Vue components. And like the Vue components bring nothing to the table when you have Livewire. And I'm like, why did I do this? So fortunately, it's not extremely challenging to move them around, because I can literally, I think in my head, literally just drag them into the Livewire folders, change the namespacing for the ones that actually use logic with Livewire, with the Vue components, because some of the Vue components are just blade templates that I include differently. So I will probably end up doing that tomorrow, because I was fighting myself over today, because I was kind of beating myself up. I'm like, man, I have Vue components, I have Livewire components, and there's just no reason to have the Vue components anymore. I still say Livewire should be the de facto Vue component library in Laravel. Period. End of story. Full stop. Yeah. There's no reason to have a discussion about it. We don't need to argue about it. We just need to do it.
Now, that's logic
or you
I can follow.
Make a decision as a developer and choose which one you want to use.
That has been the logic used for integrating things in the past in Laravel, so I can see that happening.
He'll just do it tomorrow. I'm sure Taylor's listening to the podcast. So it's like, Eric makes a good point. I'm just going to add it to the
He listens live.
It'll be fine. So yeah, that's been going on. But I do have, all right, so I have to come clean.
Mm-hmm.
I said last week on the show that I owed a week of coding to PHP Storm because I hadn't used it in a very long time. And honestly, I totally forgot about it until I reached out to John to do testing. And then I was like, oh yeah, let's do that code with me thing. And so I fired up PHP Storm. So I think what I'm going to do this week, because I'm getting very envious, I'm in a Vim Discord channel that just has some wickedly smart people in there who are just like going, balls out on Vim. And I'm just loving it, and I'm learning all this new stuff, and I'm learning a lot of stuff about NVim, which is something I use. This I always forget the what is it called? NVim cock. It's called cock. NVim cock. I know. Don't say anything yet, Thomas. Just give me a second. It's not Conqueror of Completion. I think is what it is. Conqueror of Completion, and how those two, there's a lot of things in there that replaces a lot of plugins. And when I moved to NVim, I just ported over my entire Vim configuration because I knew I could do that, including all my plugins and stuff. And so I have all this overlap now, and I have like the way people are managing their their NVim and Vim files now. They're breaking them out instead of having it all in one file. So I'm pretty envious about all that, and I want to take some time. So I think what I'm going to do this weekend is strip everything out of my NVim, start from a blank slate. I do this every 5 or 6 years, anyways, and I'm due to do it again, anyways. So I'm going to start from a blank slate. I'm going to kind of start following some of the direction that this Vim people have been giving, and try to strip down what I'm using and why I'm using it, and really get an understanding of what I have baked into my system without adding plugins, and then start to build up from there. And while I'm doing that, I figure next week will be my PHP Storm week, because, it's going to take me a while to really understand what I'm doing with some of this, some of these new tools in Vim and all that. So yeah, that's my plan.
So I'm confused. You're stripping all the plugins out?
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I'm going to take everything out. I mean, plugins, all my configurations, all my shortcuts, all my Vim bindings. I'm going to take everything out and then start adding stuff back, because I know what I use, like that's muscle memory to me now. I know what I need to have, and I'll start to slowly add those as I realize they're missing, and then, like I said, only add plugins where I'm sure that functionality hasn't been integrated with the stuff I'm using. I mean, the Conqueror of Completion. This is one of the parts I'm a little confused about. I'm hearing people say you don't even need Conqueror of Completion anymore because the language servers that you can tie into. I'm like, that doesn't seem right to me, but I could be completely wrong. That's the sort of thing. Like, I want to find out what I have and what I really need, and make sure that this thing is that will kind of sharpened tool, that sniper scope, everything tweaked exactly how I want it tool that it is. So yeah, so that's my plan.
I want to hear about that. What?
Tom's got his little disclaimer he throws up on the stream.
That is not a disclaimer. That is a flat out statement.
I do want to see what you come up with. I do need to tweak my Vim a little bit more, but I don't use it for my development. I do use it remotely when I'm editing, usually in production, because that's a thing. So it might be nice to have those tools set up and ready for me.
I like this bold,
I don't know that
John voice. This
kind
deep baritone.
I'm used to it. We get it in meetings every now and then. So
I thought it was just a Zoom thing.
Exactly what I was about to say. This is the first time it's happened on Skype. Normally it's only on Zoom. So now I'm a little worried.
I've been having so many issues with this stupid machine, and audio was a big one. I blew up at Eric last night. I was ready to do a fresh install of the entire thing because I couldn't get my headset working at all. I fought it for an hour, and now I'm having these issues. It's driving me nuts. And then I'm tailing Varlog, and I'm seeing messages like, your system is too slow. It's like, oh my gosh, I paid way too much money for you to be telling me my system is too slow.
I get these messages from John. John rarely talks to me after 3 o'clock, sometimes 4 o'clock. And I started getting these messages from him last night. He's like, I'm done with this system. I'm throwing it out the door right now. It's gone.
There were a lot more expletives in it, though. Way more.
That's what I said. So there's an M1 chip in your very near future. Is that what I'm hearing?
delicious M1 chip.
So,
if Docker performed better, I would go back to Mac.
Oh, really?
Docker performs great. There's a native build now.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I'm using it nonstop.
What?
I use it all day.
I used it all day, but it wasn't very performant heavy. I mean, it didn't perform great. It was slow. I mean, I knew I had to wait for response.
It easily added 1 to 2 seconds per page request for me. It was horrible.
I wouldn't. I mean, I think I don't think I would ever not have my Linux machine. But I mean, if I were, I don't know. I won't say I won't ever go back to a Mac. I mean, there was nothing horrible about Macs. I was fine with it, except for whenever I tried to use an open source tool on it, it was brutal. I mean, even like the Audacity I did for editing the podcast was just so stinking slow. It drove me nuts. But I'm happy with my desktop. I don't think I'm too concerned about it today. But in Discord, Darling Data did ask what the difference is between NVim and Vim. I'm glad you asked this because I had a general understanding of it before because John had asked in episodes past, but now I have a better understanding of it. So the biggest difference and the thing that initiated it was NeoVim was a fork of Vim. and it was around the philosophy of the maintenance of the code base, and that's pretty much what the goal was. In Vim, there's this sense of a gatekeeper who manages that project and does all their merging and all that. And in Vim is more community driven. People can submit pull requests easier. Pull requests get accepted and merged in directly. So those contributors get credit. If you go to the NeoVim repo and look at the contributor list, it's very long, and they take a lot of pride in that. And the Vim one isn't so long. I mean, like when they had forked it, I think there was only 1 or 2 contributors to Vim because of this gatekeeping mentality they had. For better or for worse, I mean, you can decide as a open source project owner how you want to allow other people to contribute to your code base. And there you go. Thanks, Thomas. And this is just how they had decided. Now, NeoVim does bring some additional functionality. They implemented Lua in NeoVim, so you can write extensions in NeoVim in Lua, which obviously you can't run in Vim, whereas anything written in Vim script that you run in Vim, as far as extensions go, you can pull over to NeoVim. That might change in the future. They're introducing a new Vim scripting language, so who knows? But Lua makes it much more approachable for people to write extensions for NeoVim. So there are more. I feel like there are some interesting extensions packages coming out in NeoVim that you're not seeing translated to Vim. And then you can even use Lua. So I was talking about my key bindings and the fact that I just had pulled over all my key bindings from my Vim days. You can write your key bindings and write these little scripts of functionality in Lua for NeoVim. So it does bring some additional things to the table. I don't know how much I want to buy into that. I have already bought into using some Lua extensions. Like Telescope was the big one. That was like, if you ever used Vim and you used like Nerd Tree or anything like that, Telescope is just so much nicer. I really enjoy it. And I've been trying to shy away from that because I'm like, if I ever have to go back to Vim, I would like to still be able to just port my stuff back over and not have to figure out a bunch of stuff that, oh, hey, I can't use this extension. I have to rewrite this key binding because I wrote it in Lua. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with that, but I've been using NeoVim for about a year now and pretty happy with it. I mean, and I haven't even been taking advantage of the extra perks that come along with it. So those are the two big differences.
The hard part would be, like you said, jumping from machine to machine if you don't install it on all your remote machines, because we have servers all over the place, and if you're so used to it the way you have it on your machine, it's not going to necessarily translate.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for you to get onto the VS Code thing. It's so nice.
What? Vim and VS Code?
No, just VS Code in general. I mean, I spent a little bit of time this week streamlining it, just getting my actions in it a little more smooth, and to never leave the IDE to do all of my administrative stuff, like handling Jira tickets and pull requests and stuff like that. It's so nice. And what?
I mean, you can do that in PHP Storm, as far as I know.
PHP Storm was never as fast as VS Code is for me. VS Code is just so fast. But
I'll take your word for it. After you talked about VS Code, I said, well, I should fire it up because it's been a long time since I fired it up, and it took me like 45 minutes to finish getting all the updates and restarting, and by the time I got to a point where I thought I could use it. I'm like, I'm done with this already. I'm already not that interested.
I have an update to install right now. I'm going to click restart to update. Clicked, closed.
I agree with you, Thomas. I think VS Code is a great product, especially for people who don't have the money for an IDE.
That's it.
Or yeah.
I
have no problem with VS Code.
Tom, you were a PHP Storm user for years before this, right? So what's your big takeaway? PHP Storm versus VS Code.
So, I explained it to a buddy of mine this way recently, is that because VS Code is basically an Electron app, then you can manipulate anything in JavaScript, which is the first thing that they're teaching people in school nowadays. So everyone who's going to university for comp sci or basic, programming stuff, they're picking up JavaScript, looking for something to do. They've got their IDE in front of them, and they just start writing a thing for their IDE. So there's so many extensions out there. Now, granted, it's not a curated list like PHP Storm's extensions are. So there's a lot of cruft, a lot of stuff there that you don't want to get into. But there is something for everything you could imagine doing in the IDE as an extension. Just there and waiting for you to use it. And it's very, very impressive how well it all works.
So what would be an example of an extension that you can't do in PHP Storm?
I wouldn't say can't do, but I will say that in VS Code, I have the Atlassian plugin, the Atlassian toolbar. So it gives me access to all of my Jira integrations, Bitbucket, pull requests, all of that stuff. And in the footer of my IDE, I have a bunch of hot links to everything that's related to the project I'm currently working on. So if I need to pull up the ticket that I'm working on and see the text of the ticket, I can just click the ticket that's on the bottom of the screen there. If I need to switch branches, or it tells me if I'm synced with the server.
I feel like Tom is at the stage where my mom was when I'd go out to Arizona. I'd fire up their browser. There'd be like 4 or 5 toolbars. Every toolbar she needed because it had some bit of information in there.
You just discovered ASMR, Bonsai Buddy. Don't tell me. I know that these are things you can do in PHP Storm. What I'm saying is that the integrations here are smooth and easy. I have my Docker containers managed through VS Code. I have...
Hey, like I said, if you're not going to use Vim, you're just as good with VS Code as you are with PHP Storm. They both to me seem like they bring equal amount of benefit to a developer who can't seem to figure out Vim to the table. So I'm hearing you, Tom, and I don't have a problem with VS Code. I think it's good. I don't see a benefit to it, especially, we've said it before. If you're a professional developer and you get paid to do this stuff, paying for an IDE is probably in your best interest to have that support, to have that. And I did the one day I did the testing with John, I took advantage of the fact that PHP Storm understood Livewire a little better, and I was able to do a few things there that in Vim I have to know what I'm doing when I do it in Vim. So yeah, I don't know what. If I don't have that in VS Code, then I would say I would lean. I mean, yeah, VS Code. I would lean to say that PHP Storm, especially when you talk about PHP specifically, right? Because VS Code is very much like Vim, where it's designed for
anything,
everything, everyone, right? PHP Storm, again, is laser focused on PHP stuff. So that's why they have a lot of that integration with Laravel and Livewire, things that these other tools will miss. I mean, that's the one thing to think about. But in general, VS Code, PHP Storm, whatever.
And while we're having this conversation, I do want to bring up, we had a listener talk to me directly in Discord, and has been getting upset about these conversations because they can go very like, you've said weaker developer before, and there's always this IDE versus that IDE, and I think we all agree, use the right tool for the job, whatever makes you a better developer.
Absolutely.
I think we're all on the same page. Same page there, John. Vim is the best tool for everyone. Wait, was that how
I was trying to soften things, but nope.
No.
Forget it.
No.
I'm gonna get hammered for that weaker developer comment for years to come. Yes, you are. I'm gonna own it. I don't care. I'm not saying I don't agree with that. I'm saying I won't say it again, I will say it how it relates to me. I shouldn't be judging other people's skill sets just in general because I am horrible. I am amazed that people pay me to do what I do.
We all are.
I shouldn't be doing this. Yeah, I don't blame you. I have the opposite of imposter syndrome. I think I'm the shit when it comes to coding. Like, I think I'm better than everyone. And then I see other people code. I'm like, I really shouldn't be doing this for a living. I don't know why I'm doing this.
I'll throw you some of my code, and you'll feel small again. Don't worry. Some of the code I've been working on has been, I just sort of look at it and go, wow, that's insane.
I do want to see it then. If you're willing to share, I want to see what you're talking about.
I'm not sure exactly what I can share, but I can show you some stuff.
I gotta show you, John. Did I show you what I did with the Livewire and the photo uploading and dragging and dropping and reordering? Yeah. Did I show you all that? You
did. You made a video and sent it. Oh, you sent it to the client and shared it with me.
So little coding. I mean, it was so little coding and no JavaScript. Well, a little Alpine, but it was. I did something similar today or yesterday where I always end up in this pattern with Livewire. I start to overthink it, and I'm like, I make the problem way more complex, and then I start coding. I'm like, you know what? Really, if this was me, I would just do this. And it's like I do it, and that's what works. I'm like, this is nuts. I was trying to do a on this forum. I was trying to make it so that people could just fill in their social networking information, and it wrote it to a JSON column in MySQL. And I was doing this with Livewire, and I was like thinking, I was over complicating how to do it. Because I wanted it so that when they added it, it would pop up, and then I just overcomplicated it. I'm like, if this was me, I would just take all this stuff in an array and then add it to the record. And that's really all it was. Like, what would have taken me, I'll send you the video of this one, what would have taken me probably a day and a half of coding in PHP and Vue.js or React or some other JavaScript framework, I got done in like 15 minutes with Livewire. Once I stopped fighting my brain on it and just said, okay, simplify the problem here and just do this. And man, I tell you, did I mention I think Livewire should be in Laravel's base and stuff? Because I really
did mention that once.
Eric, I've got something to say after this.
I think he's done.
And you totally didn't get that one, did you? That was good, John. That was good. You might. He even gave you a heads up in Slack.
I don't have Slack open. Drop.
Why are we having a conversation?
Drop HONEYBADGER. Why would I drop HONEYBADGER? It's the greatest thing we have.
Can your M1 chip? Can your M1 chip not run Slack with OBS?
I'm not
What's
on
the
that
problem?
machine. You know that.
I know.
HoneyBadger transforms you into a DevOps hero by combining error, uptime, and cron monitoring into a single easy-to-use platform. Stop wasting your time tailing logs and deploy with Swagger. Visit honeybadger.io today to level up.
Thank you,
Thanks,
HoneyBadger.
Sponsor of tonight's podcast, HoneyBadger. We appreciate you.
Yes. Eric, did want to bring up, when you were showing that drag and drop of changing the order, did you add in any sort of notification saying this has been saved? Because I noticed in that video, you made it clear that you drag and drop and it auto saves behind the scenes, and there's no save button for the user to click. Do you think that would lead to any sort of user astonishment, like, oh, I didn't mean to do that, versus if I did it and I saw a little notification saying the order has been changed or your preferences have been saved?
I believe the little badge comes out telling you saved.
I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah, I'll double check it. I'm pretty sure it's already not, like, when my site goes full, so the client hasn't decided on design specs for the site. So I'm really working on functionality. So there's a lot of white space there right now. And when you go full screen, like you barely even notice the little slide out that says, oh yeah, this has been saved. So I need to probably bring that up. I did have another stupid realization this past week, and I feel completely dumb for doing this. And if anybody's been trying to use Tmux, because I've been talking about it and felt like you couldn't do it because you didn't have it, you couldn't use your mouse anymore, because that's how I've always used Tmux. John mentioned last week that with the mouse that we use, you can do this like spin on it, and it'll keep spinning, right? And I knew exactly what he was talking about. No, it was John.
No.
Right?
We both talked about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I remember thinking, well, shit, that's actually one of the things I miss in Tmux, because like when I was tailing a log file and I needed to go back, I would just spin my little mouse wheel, and it would just go, it would scroll all the way back, and it was kind of fun, right? And now in Tmux, because this is the way I've always used Tmux, there's a key combination you hit, and then you basically have the Vim bindings. You can do Control U to get jump up a page, jump up. That's always the way I used it. And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, I wish I could use that little spin mouse in Tmux. That would actually be kind of cool. And I looked on Google, and like it was one setting in my Tmux conf file, and now my Tmux has like complete mouse support. I don't know why I would need that, but like I have complete mouse support in Vim. So not only can I scroll my windows, which again I couldn't do before, and I just always accepted that as part of Tmux. It never really bothered me. Not only can I scroll my windows, but like I can click on panes. Like if I'm on one pane, I can reach for my mouse and click on another pane. Again, I don't know why I would do that. It just baffled my mind. It's like I can't believe I never looked into this, because I've had friends who wanted to use Tmux but couldn't abandon their mouse. Like they wanted to use their mouse. And I'm like, I've always been like, I'm sorry. I mean, it's not a mouse-supported platform.
Sometimes I do forget how new you are to Linux. Because that kind of stuff is like just inherent to the very core of everything that Linux does. Like,
I am absolutely not new to Linux, so fuck you for saying that. I've been using Linux for before you were potty trained, mister. So fuck you. I just never used my mouse. So finish your statement, and then I'll say fuck you again.
Sometimes I forget how foreign the idea of a mouse cursor is to you. Is that better?
It's the fact that it's within a Tmux session, which is different.
Okay, so
it's not, obviously Linux has mouse support. It's a windowing system.
My introduction to Linux was when I was 14, and I built a Gentoo system from stage 3. which is like basically starting off the hardest way you could possibly start off. And like when that fails, you have to go to another machine and start an X Windows session on the other machine, but point it at the new machine that you're building. Because X Windows is completely pipelined. It doesn't matter what system you're on. It doesn't care what system you're on. You can connect it through SSH or Telnet even. Like, it'll connect through anything. It's a fully piped system. And so I used to pipe my I used to run a X Windows server on my Windows machine, SSH to my Linux box, and pipe the GUI back to it. And so you just didn't think about Tmux having mouse support?
I never used mouse support in Tmux. No, it never occurred to me even to try it. I just never like the mouse to me was what I used in a browser and on Windows machines. I didn't use it at the command line. I didn't in the terminal. I never used a mouse. It never occurred to me. And for the record, as it happens to be, I got started with Slackware, MySQL, and PHP all at the exact same time. I've been doing not obviously not Slackware anymore, but I've been on Linux, Unix sort of machines, MySQL, and PHP for all the same amount of time. Not very good at any of them.
So, does your mouse have a ball in it? Like, is that?
Let me see.
No,
just
a bird.
Just a finger.
Just the one bird.
Finger. Yeah, just a bird. I got a PHP question for you guys, and people in Discord, since we've got a lot of Discord people in. I thought I had a use case. Again, using Livewire, I was overthinking something, but I almost used the Laravel. Laravel has a map function that you can attach to a collection. Are you familiar with this? John, I don't think you'll be familiar with this. Are you familiar with this?
Say this one more time.
I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with it in collections in general, not necessarily Laravel collections.
All right, collections. Okay, so there's the map feature you can attach to a collection.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, you're familiar with that. When do you use that? And what's the difference between using that as opposed to a for each? Because I thought I had figured it out today, and I'm like, I can still do that in a for each. Like, why would I use the collection map instead of a for each?
It's very similar to a for each versus a for loop, where it's just doing one of the steps for you. In a for loop, it's you have to count how many elements are in your array or whatever. In a for each, it does that.
It's more elegant because you're passing in a callback. Yeah. You can chain things together, so you're often going to chain your map and filter.
Laravel's collections do a for each as a closure, so they're very, very, very similar. But map is looking for a successful match on some value first, and then making a change. Versus for each.
What?
In
map? No, map.
Yeah, in Laravel's map.
If it...
Well, I mean, I'll pull the documentation.
And map and map returns a collection, right? You're making changes to the collection and then returning.
You're not returning that collection. You're actually changing the collection.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah. Let me ask you a question then with the map. In the map, the only thing you can change is the collection. And what I mean by that is you can't create, or can you? This is my question. Can you create another value within a map that then you access outside of that collection?
It's returning the collection.
You ultimately get
So it only applies to the collection then.
So I was wrong. It's not modifying the collection. It's returning a modified collection. So you have your initial collection and you have the result collection as separate entities. Versus each, which has basically the exact same syntax. But it looks like each modifies the collection. Wow. Well, the documentation isn't that clear on it. So each method iterates over the items in the collection and passes each item to a closure. If you would like to stop iterating, you may return false. Versus map, which...
While he's looking this up, remember earlier in the show, I'm switching topics now because this is boring me. Earlier in the show when I got all confused about, we were talking about PHP unit and I went to say something and was very befuddled. Yes. Next week I will have stuff to contribute to the show. The creator of Xdebug, not PHP unit, which is what I was about to say earlier, is going to be giving a presentation to one of our clients and their developers tomorrow that I get to be a part of. Mostly around Xdebug Cloud and just using Xdebug in general. So that'll be fun, and hopefully I'll have some cool stuff to talk about around that next week.
So John, since you brought it up, you made an interesting statement about my video I shared with the Livewire in the photo organizing, drag and drop organizing. I came across something today that I thought was interesting that I didn't know was a thing. I guess it's a thing in MySQL, and then there's something in I don't know if it's PHP or Laravel. This is the problem with using a framework. I don't know where the benefit is coming. Or I don't think it's either, because I was just using raw. Anyways, in that demo that I sent, those pictures, when they're uploaded, they have an order by, and that order by is null. There's no value to them. It doesn't get a value until the person using it manipulates the order. So if they drag the order, it will then define an order of the pictures. So I had an interesting problem, right? Because if you had 4 pictures, you can only have 4 pictures uploaded at one time, right? Or I think 5 pictures uploaded at one time. If you had 5 pictures uploaded and you set them in order, then it doesn't matter if you drag one or if you drag all 5. The moment you drag one, it'll put everything in order based on how it is on the screen. And then if you delete that one and you upload a new one, but you don't change the order, that new one has a order by value of null. And the problem comes into play because the first image in the order is what's known as your primary image. And so this is the one that has like a big picture, and then the rest are like these supporting images. And I had an issue where I'm like, okay, if they upload another one and it has null, I'm doing an order by in my Eloquent call, and it's like it's going to put the null before number 1 because it's null. And I couldn't figure out, this is actually collection mapping and the for eaching, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to loop over this whole goddamn collection, figure out if the order by is null, and if it's null, drop it to the bottom of the collection. And you know, I was overthinking it. Are you aware that there's actually a MySQL command that you can run that when you call order by, you can tell it to put the null stuff after any numbers?
I did not know that.
I didn't know it either. It was the coolest thing too.
As you started saying that, I was racking my brain. I'm like, there's got to be some way to do that in your query, but I didn't know it was as simple as an order by.
So the method I ended up using was the one that a lot of people went with. I tested both these methods out, and they both work. So there is a isNull command you can add to your query, and that will then just say, okay, if it's, you know, if you have this isNull, then I'm going to put your null stuff at the bottom of your list, not at the top of your list. The cooler one, I thought, was that you could do a order by. So normally you do order by order, order by
display order
right?
or whatever you call it.
Right, display order, yeah. If you put a negative mark in front of that column name, it automatically does it. I'm like, bullshit. There's no way that works. And damn it, that doesn't work. I was so excited to find that. It's shit
It doesn't
like
work or it does work?
It does work. And shit like that is why I get so excited about coding every day. It's like I'm always finding these little things. It's like I've been doing this long enough.
I hate that because it's like an Easter egg. It's like you have to know to put a negative sign there versus some other command that makes more sense.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. It's like if another developer comes in there and sees that, they'd be like, "How is this not erroring out? He has a syntax error right here. Let me just take that negative out of there."
There's always the just default the column from null to 999 or something.
That was going to be one of my solutions. I'm like, oh, I'll just change the default to 10 because, like I said, they're limiting them to 5 now. They might extend that limit, but I couldn't see them extending it over 10. 99 would have probably even been better, but yeah.
All right, I gotta go check that out. That sounds cool.
It was cool, yeah.
See, I'm here.
I do a lot of if null stuff in my SQL statements.
I'm looking over the pipe operator V2 RFC by Larry Garfield. Might have heard of him.
Larry. You know Larry.
Yeah, there's some promising, cool stuff in there. It's not up for vote yet, but it is classic 2/3 majority, and it allows you to pipe instead of nest in the same way that you normally execute object-oriented stuff, self-referential object-oriented stuff. So when you have get the current user's shopping list and the most expensive item out of it and the promotion for that item, right now it's one gigantic line of nested code. Piping it, you can just pass one value to the next, to the next, to the next. It's very interesting.
I was scrolling back. Somebody had asked about object-oriented programming in JavaScript earlier.
Where did they ask that?
Hit that. It was at it was at Discord. You know how to get there? Discord.phpugly.com.
Yeah.
He said, I've got a real concern about object-oriented programming in JavaScript. I'm almost 4 months on front end, but still got the question, how to use object-oriented programming in front, or where use it, or advice. Didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, you use
in there.
Use a library or like a framework. Don't try to write native JavaScript object-oriented stuff.
So let me ask you this question.
That's a nightmare.
Because we brought this up. I get asked a lot what draws me to Livewire, and I always tell them that I'm horrible at front end. I try to pick up a few JavaScript frameworks, and although a couple of them I got, but none of them stuck with me where I could just like pick it up and just start using it. I'm a PHP developer. The more stuff I can do in PHP, the better, and Livewire allows me to do that. Let me ask you, both of you, because you both use JavaScript frameworks, correct?
Yeah.
Vue.
A little.
Yeah, a little. Okay. What separates functionality? What delegates functionality to the JavaScript framework and not the PHP framework or
context
code?
Switching? The
Context
native
switching.
JavaScript context switching is a living nightmare. And when you have to write code that says this.me equals this, so that you still know what this is when you go one further object down in your list, it's a living nightmare. You can't. This is the thing, is that jQuery was great. It was amazing because it had it kept you away from the context of the current thing that was being executed and just said, I get what you're working on. Keep working on that thing. But
you could still pass context.
You could pass context around. But native JavaScript context, it's a nightmare to try and handle, in my experience. I'm sure someone will tell me I'm an idiot. But yeah, like Sarah Goldman says here, JavaScript's notion of this binding is bad and it should feel bad. It does feel bad. It feels terrible.
Or it laughs at you.
There are several IDEs that will apologize to you when you start referencing this, and they'll say, I know I shouldn't interfere, you're programming right now, but this is going to be bad. And by this, I mean this is going to be bad. It's terrible.
Eric, I completely missed what your question was.
What does a framework provide? What does a JavaScript framework provide?
No, not what does it provide. It's if you're a PHP developer, if your team are PHP developers, you're creating an application with a PHP core, but then you throw a JavaScript framework on top of it. What decision process are you making to say, okay, I'm delegating this logic to the JavaScript framework or JavaScript in general. It doesn't have to be a framework. I'm delegating this to JavaScript. I'm delegating that to PHP. I'm delegating this to JavaScript. It's just like if it's front end, it's JavaScript. If it's back end, it's PHP.
Business logic, business logic, authentication, data manipulation are all back end, PHP. Presentation, yeah, absolutely. Presentation is front end.
Where was your question there, Eric?
Data manipulation. So this is where I started going off course a little bit with Vue.js. It seemed like there. I would struggle to say, okay, I of course I'm always terrible at coming up with examples on the spot. But data manipulation seemed like it would be one of them. It's like, okay, do I want to manipulate the data here? And like validation is an example that would get me, right? Because it's like my JavaScript developers would be like, well, I'm doing validation. I'm like, okay, great. You got to do validation because JavaScript's the front end. So we want the validation for the feel for the user, but I still need my backend developer to do validation because that's where it counts.
You need both.
It's like, okay, why, it just, I don't know. It just seemed like that was duplication of work. And then that there would start to be certain aspects of it where it's like, okay, it seems like I can delegate that to JavaScript, but I really probably should keep that in the PHP world.
There are times where there will be duplication, but the front end is a nicety for the user where the back end is a requirement. It has to be there.
Totally
validator.
Yeah. It's a duplication in the sense that the code is doing roughly the same thing, but UX and UI has its own place in the world where you have to account for duplication.
See, this is what I'm saying. With Livewire, I do the validation in PHP.
Yeah, but then it's slower.
And Livewire handles. You know,
it's making the AJAX call to fetch the error, do the validation, fetch the error.
So listen, don't shit on Livewire and make these random things unless you just did.
Isn't that how Livewire works?
So my point is I can do my validation in PHP. I can do validation with Laravel validation rules that I'm familiar with in PHP. And my front-end user still gets that real-time response. I can get it to validate. I know you can do this in JavaScript too before you jump on your bandwagon there, Tom. I can validate while somebody's typing in the field of if the data they're typing in passes the validation yet. And it's that type of stuff. It's like this is what PHP or Laravel develops. Unfortunately, I have to say Laravel developers, right? Because Livewire, I haven't had enough experience. Symfony has some sort of implementation that I've heard about that seems to be kind of like Livewire, and I'd be really interested to get more details on that. But Laravel developers, I just don't understand. It's like, I'm sure there's a need for JavaScript now, a straight up JavaScript not just like Alpine JS in Livewire. I'm sure there's a need for it. I don't see what that need is today. I don't know if I would ever bring that.
So was Tom right in the fact that the validation is an AJAX request to say, hey, is this valid?
Yeah, it does make a call back, yeah.
So it's just a lot of round trips that it's making, right?
You can tune.
It depends. It depends, right? I mean, if you want to do the real-time validation, yes, it'll make a call. You can have it make a call back after every keystroke. You can say make a call back every 3 seconds or 3 milliseconds.
A form blur.
But typically, you just defer all that and submit the form, and then you just get that feedback after you submit the form of, hey, this data didn't validate.
Yeah, and
yeah, Sarah brings up a good point. If you're doing this on a mobile app and they're paying for mobile minutes, that could be brutal, or just slow in that regard.
And if you have a server load,
you're doing validation.
Yeah, but if you have a server load of 300 hits per second, and you implement that version of validation, now your server load goes up from 300 hits per second to 900.
I'm sure you can make the same fuck-ups
Absolutely.
with JavaScript. Though.
But what you can do with Vue is have a request object send its rules to your Vue instance so that your Vue instance just syncs up with what your request objects look like. So the validation is programmed once on the back end, and it's sent to the front end on initialization of the application or compile of the application, and then it's executed on both instances simultaneously with the same rules, just one on the front end, one on the back end. But you're not duplicating the code. That's doable. That's similar to what we're doing.
Another example that I can recall with the Vue stuff is to get I forget, it's been so long since I've done it now, I can't remember why I had a requirement to use the Vue router. So Vue.js, I was using Vue.js with the Laravel app, and I was doing something where I think I was doing the thing where I was trying to do like the spa app. I think that's what it was. Trying to make the application feel like a spa application where it wasn't doing page refreshes, which again is the whole thing Livewire does, but we won't touch on that. But to do that, I had to use the Vue router. So I was doing routing in Laravel and then doing routing in Vue, and it's like, damn it, this really should all just be in one place.
I will say the other thing with Livewire, I will walk carefully, don't worry, is that when I have a Vue application, the entire Vue application gets compiled together with Babel support and...
Oh, that's another thing. Don't get me started in NPM. I don't even need NPM with Livewire.
I know.
Don't need it, John.
But you also don't get it.
Don't need it.
So with our application...
The problems I've had with applications over the past few years, with Laravel applications specifically, 95% of the time fall on NPM.
I don't disagree.
In trying to do
Don't
NPM
disagree.
stuff.
However, when our application loads, it's loaded. The whole application is loaded. So you can actually browse almost all of our site or our entire system without making AJAX calls. Because if something is cached into Vue, then we don't have to make a refresh call. We don't have to make a update call. So we pull up our integrations page, and you get your API keys, and you browse away from there and do some more stuff. Go back to your integration page. Your API keys are still there, and we didn't make a new call to PHP because we've got a value store in Vue, and the whole application, like I said, is already loaded. So a huge performance boost in our system is from Vue saying, I have the page, I just need the data. And when it gets the data is stored, and it fires off webhooks and events. It does some, the web proxy, web portal, the ports, open ports and stuff. I mean, like, our system is blazingly fast no matter how slow your server is or how overloaded your server is. The system loads up the next page and says, I know what you're trying to do. I'm fetching that data. Here's some loading information. And it's very, very slick. And I know Livewire is awesome, but you can't do it with Livewire. You can't load the entire application in one shot with Livewire. So
I think Eric's willing to take that challenge.
Eric's vibrating. He's sitting in his chair rocking back and forth now.
Here. Nice.
No, Livewire is super, super cool. Don't get me wrong, but Livewire has a place and Vue has a place. And in a very high load environment, I would become immediately concerned about Livewire dragging down the system on multiple places. First, rendering views, which I don't ever have to do. My PHP server doesn't render views. Doesn't.
Why are you worried about that?
Because that takes time.
Why are you calling Livewire out about it? Well, but you're making a claim. Like, this is like I'm not going to say that, don't move to Texas, but I would be afraid of moving to Texas and getting shot in the head by a racist. I mean, it's like, don't say it unless you have a reason
for the same reason that if you could compile PHP, or if you're looking at these systems that are coming out like Roadrunner and Swole, those systems are faster by huge margins because they're not doing the PHP front-end loading stuff. They're not bootstrapping the framework. They're not rendering the views every single time. They're caching all these things. And when you have a Vue application that's totally separate from your back-end system, you never have to worry about rendering your views. You just compile it the one time and send it out there as application.js. And that is faster. And it serves more hits per second than hitting a PHP page, no matter how you cut it. So there's a place for it. But I'm currently working on building a system that could get hundreds of thousands of hits per second. And we need that separation of the front end and the back end. We need to know that the API is not dragging because the front end is rendering stuff, or because there's constant communication between the front end and back end that shouldn't be happening or doesn't need to be happening. So when I'm writing that application, I say this stuff does or doesn't belong in the front end because I can compute it on the client side, or pre-compute it with compiling, or I want to get an application out quickly, which is what Livewire really is for, is rapid software development. Eric looks like he's going to murder me.
I'll let you get your piece in. I don't need you to talk about, you always talk over me. You don't let me say anything.
They are very different.
No, it's fine. No, you said your piece. You said your piece. Well, I don't agree with you, but that's nothing different. I think Livewire is awesome. I think them is awesome. Piss off. I don't care. All right. We good?
Well, and so Kevin brings up another thing that's interesting, is that with two separate systems, with a precompiled Vue environment, we are completely service agnostic. So if I'm hosting through CloudFront, S3, an API gateway, or Lambda, it doesn't matter as long as the Vue application can hit the endpoints. But I could have a Vue application that was hitting static endpoints, and I could be doing static HTML with PHP that generated those endpoints. That could drop my hits per second down considerably. So Livewire is awesome. I'm not saying it isn't.
That
Pedaling back.
Was perfect timing. That could drop my hits per second, and you froze
Perfect.
I was saying, was that me or him?
That was him. It was perfect timing.
Oh my gosh, that was the best part of the show. Your M1 got tired of listening.
I'm not on that computer.
Your M1 was just like, oh God, Thomas, Jesus.
Electron is cool, or Livewire is cool. Livewire is very, very cool, but it can't replace a complete Vue application.
It absolutely can, and it does, and it will, and Livewire will rule the world. Boop, boop, boop-a-doo-doo. I do like the idea. So that was my whole thing with Vue when Vue.js came out, and I thought I was getting my head around a JavaScript framework. It's like, okay, this is it. I'm only going to write APIs from this day forward. I'm just going to write APIs, and I'm going to separate my backend and my front end. So I'll have developers who only do API stuff, and it'll go on this server, and my other developers can do front end stuff, and it'll go on this server. And that lasted all of a week and a half. Screw JavaScript. PHP for life. PHP for life. Piss off, Thomas, and your JavaScript yakking.
I didn't even start talking about Node.
I'm gonna replace you. I'm gonna replace all you. You're all bums.
You know who? You know who isn't
seeing
bums?
So many people getting tired. Let me hear it.
Our patrons.
You didn't clean that up one bit, did you? That's awesome. Just clean that up really fast. just take a quick breath there. And
thank you
who
to our patrons on Patreon. Shut up. Got very little advance notice.
Professional.
We do have a new Patreon supporter who was in our Discord, and I actually got goosebumps when he said this. I'm waiting for the name to come up. I'm trying to buy some time here because I don't know. Here it is. Ahinkle. Thank you, Ahinkle. Ahinkle in our Discord said that he finally paid off his student loans, and to celebrate, he was going to. He had already kind of committed to himself that when he paid off the student loans, he was going to show some appreciation to some people on Patreon that he appreciates, and somehow he made the mistake and clicked on our link, so I didn't correct him. But that was very moving to hear. It's like, oh man, I just had a kid go through a university, and fortunately we were able to do it where we didn't have a debt. But if you're not in the U.S., maybe you don't understand that, and I don't even know if Ahinkle is in the U.S. because I know this isn't a U.S. only thing. But like secondary education, like college education, is not a free thing. It's not a cheap thing, and it's a hell of a commitment. And it should be something that everybody has access to, and everybody doesn't, and it only helps divide classes in our country, and the haves continue to have more, and the have-nots don't, and it's a frustrating thing. I'm always happy to hear when somebody is able to pay off that debt. Congratulations. I mean, thanks for the Patreon support.
Yes, huge
appreciate
thank
that,
you,
but
huge
congratulations.
Yes.
Oh man, that's just huge.
It's the best feeling when that gets paid off.
I would be paying off mine still if it were not for a very elderly great uncle who had me in mind when he passed. Yes.
Oh, really?
Met him like 5 times total, but
you would still be paying it off?
Yeah. Not even college. It was micro skills, the now defunct scam of a trade school in San Diego.
Holy crap! You went to, was that why you were here in San Diego?
No,
I'm
a San Diego native, but when my mom said either get a job or move out, I said, "What about school?" And she said, "Yeah, fine. You can live here if you go to school." So I went to school, and it was.
Micro skills was the shit.
No,
man.
it was not. It was a scam.
No, it was none of them were. Even the one I went to was just like, I don't know. I forget the one I went to was in the same parking lot. I forget what it was called. I shouldn't knock them. I did appreciate the stuff I got out of there. But
Sarah says University of Phoenix. I don't think it was that. It wasn't ITT Tech. It was. I mean, at the time when when parents were told that computers were the future, a lot of shady schools showed up all of a sudden for some reason.
Yeah, these trade schools, but not really.
Yeah, so I was one of 2 people who completed my program there out of, I believe, 90 that were in my class. Yes.
Really? Holy crap.
And payment is up front with no refunds.
Yeah. That was...
why such a low success rate?
Because it was the MCSE certification plus the Novell system engineer certification, and the Cisco, the CCNA certification, which when you signed up...
Wow. I didn't know you had all this.
I have my MCSE. I didn't take the Novell test, and once we got into split horizon routing, I dropped out of Cisco. But I'm the only one who graduated out of 2 people. Graduated any of the courses, because when you signed up, they told you, MCSE, that's easy, no problem. Who's going to worry about that? You can pass that, no problem. And they started with the A+ test, which had you repairing printers, and that trimmed off about 1/3 of the people already. Like,
New Horizons. That's what I did. I did no. Apparently, they're still there. New Horizons is still there. I just looked them up. New Horizons is the one I did. Yeah, code camps. Yeah, that's right. Basically, code camps.
No, but it was
for networking.
It was a 2-year program, though. It was a year of in classroom and then a year of on-site study and testing. And they had systems. Yeah. They had artificial networks built out before they had VMs that you could get into and build a multi-domain forest out of and do a migration from one corporate entity to another within a multi-domain forest. So it's stuff that I did, and they had the right equipment, but the salespeople knew what they were doing when they took a guy who wanted to not be a trucker anymore and told him to get his MCSE this year.
That was crazy because I was working. We just had our children, twins, and I was working. I'd gotten a promotion at work. I'd become a manager of these sites, and I was working like 10 hours a day. I'd come home to watch the kids for like an hour or 2 until my wife got off work. Then I'd go to this training from 7 at night until like 7 to 10 or 7 to 11. And then wake up at 5 o'clock the next morning and just do it all over again. And oh man, holy crap. That was fun. I'm happy it's behind me though. All right, I think we are at a good place to call it a day. I feel like we actually talked about things, and we have reputations to uphold of being a bullshit podcast. So
not like some other bullshit podcast that's obviously stealing our formula. I can never let you go quietly. You want to end the show nice and smooth, and I can never let you do that.
All right, that's it. Episode 241 is in the books. I'm Eric.
I'm Tom. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
1, 2, 1, 2. Coming off the top, y'all know how we do. Listen, I'ma drop a freestyle you can cherish. I'ma send a shout out to the host named Eric. Yo, he's never on some average shit. You know Eric, he stays loud and passionate. I'm about to break it down for y'all with the clever song. Yo, shout the host named Thomas, cause he's never wrong. And shout to John, you know that he's smart and quiet. Unlike my freestyles, which cause a riot. I'm about to do it like this, cause the people love me. Shouts out to PHP, the ugly. It's called ugly cause it's not professional, but I'm about to come through and bless it with style. So let's do it when I'm spitting, I perfume the room. Yo, the segment of the show is called Doom and Gloom. That came from Thomas. Yeah, can nobody go beyond this? I get the mic and then I'm about to keep it like a promise. Yeah, and y'all know we fill them up with anguish. We talking about the PHP, the programming language. About to break it down, no exaggeration. What do y'all do for a living? Web applications. is okay. I can dig it. My words spray tight. They getting together on the Thursday nights. Yeah, when it comes to rhyming, you can call me the new dude. I spew true lyrics while y'all broadcast on YouTube. So let's get it. You know my lyrics are major. All up in the comments, they got plenty of haters, but they doing what they doing. Keep it ugly. We ending every show with the saying it's lovely. Let's go. Hey, shout out to y'all. Peace to the whole.
Yes. Hold on, I'll be right back.
I'm
So,
very interested to see how your voice comes out.
Yeah, me too.
me not 3. Eric, remember the other night when we were doing a speed test and I was only getting 80 and I'm supposed to be getting 200?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the blinking lights back here? Well, it's really hard to see, but on my Air surfboard thing back there, there was a red blinking light at the bottom, which said, "Hey, something's connected only at 100 megabits per second." So
No kidding.
It's connected up to my Samsung mesh router thing, mesh Wi-Fi system, and for some reason that was only sending a 100 megabit signal back and forth.
No shit. Now, are you hardwired to your desktop?
Yes, but
Okay.
it all goes through that mesh network.
The Samsung thing. Yeah.
Yeah, even though it's not a, I'm not connected via Wi-Fi, but everything connects to that, and then that connects to the surfboard, and that just was slowing everything down. I reset the surfboard, and now I got a blue light instead of a red light.
You reset the surfboard, not the Samsung?
I reset them. Reset them both. It was the Samsung. You're right. I did reset the surfboard. It stayed red. I reset that and it went blue.
You have a Samsung router?
It's a Samsung Net Things or Smart Things mesh
to manage all of those cameras you have in your house.
Yep.
In each kid's room, the 14 cameras he has.
It's gone up. So.
He's gotten older. He's got to watch his hands, see what he's doing there.
We
Oh man, 900 down, 900 up. That'd be so nice.
Oh boy, my system's not doing great. Windows 11 leaked. Did you guys see that?
Oh yeah, I saw this.
Yeah.
It looks like GNOME.
It looks like OS X.
It looks like GNOME.
It doesn't have Linux. It's not a Linux kernel, which I had said that's what it was going to be. That was going to be the big thing.
Oh, you thought the next version was going to be it? I still think we're a few versions away.
I thought maybe, because I didn't think, because this, okay, so Windows 11 is actually Windows 10X, but I guess the name didn't play well, so they changed it to Windows 11. But this still goes with my theory that the naming of the next version of DirectX indicates that they're trying to build a Linux system. Because the name for the next version of DirectX is DirectX 12 Plus, which is like, they've never done that before. Well, they did that with 7, I guess, but that was because of the Windows 95, 98 thing. So I believe still that they're going for Linux. I'm just upset that it's not in the newest version, which looks stupid.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to use Windows, I'm sure I could. I really don't have much of a I don't even follow it anymore to care.
I'm at a point where if I sat down on a Windows machine, I'd be lost.
Probably, yeah. Like,
you're getting 900 down as well?
I don't even know.
891. And while we're talking and everything.
How are you getting 900 down?
I told you the Cox. It's not fiber, but it's like fiber speeds.
Is that?
That's crazy.
Oh, so I didn't tell you this, Tom, and for the people still hanging out with us, you'll appreciate this. I told John later. You know how often I'd gone out to Arizona during all the trials and tribulations of family stuff. And the several times we tried to stream and the challenges we had because there was no internet connection out there. By the time my mom went to move and sold the house and they were moving out, the internet connection was tolerable, right? I didn't like when I went out there, I didn't have to go to the library or Starbucks to get any work done anymore. But it was still not great speeds at all. So when my mom said that they were selling the house, the wife and I briefly talked about it. I was like, hey, I don't know, should we think about buying it? Because like the house hadn't gone up that much in value by the time my mom sold it between when my mom and dad bought it, which was a span of like 23 years. It only had gone up like, I think about $80,000. But the city that they're living in, like when they moved in, there was nobody around them. They literally were in the middle of the desert, and there was nobody around them. Now they're in like Poway, you know, they're like in a neighborhood. You know, the city built up around them. The city by them, Casa Grande keeps building up. Phoenix is just blowing up right now, and tech and everything else, and they're pretty close to Tucson as well. So we're like, I don't want to live in Arizona because I hate the heat out there. I don't know how they do it. I couldn't stand it. And I told the wife, I'm like, we physically can't live here because we both are dependent on the internet to get work done. She works, for a company where all she does is transfer medical information back and forth. That's why we have the speeds we have. So we're like, yeah, it's not really even. It's not even anything to talk about to do. So I went out there to help my mom and sister pack up the truck to move. And I look at the back of the house and it's all dug up. And I'm like, what? I mean, the whole block is dug up. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? What's going on back here? They're like, oh yeah, that's the city. They're putting some stuff down for I forget, for the internet. I'm like, what are they putting down? It's called fiber. They're putting down fiber. I'm like, son of a bitch, are you serious? I mean, it was like literally in her backyard. It was right there. They're putting fiber in as they were moving out.
Eric went out and tried sucking on the fiber cable. Like, oh, I need a hit.
Licking the ends of it.
After all those years. Oh my god, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was, and now I know the value of the house is like going to double and triple over the next couple of years. So
it's like Bitcoin. It's all a shitty investment. You've heard about the boomer bubble with real estate, right? Is once all the boomers start dying out, then all the real estate that they own is just going to be available. And that's started happening already, and there's like one company that's buying up a third of free real estate in the US for rental properties. It's nightmarish.
I hear Airbnb still has a pretty significant impact on that too. Like people just buy properties to Airbnb them.
Although, hopefully COVID pruned those assholes out quite a bit.
People were doing that a ton. It's like, I want to get away, so get an Airbnb somewhere. I went to AT&T to see if I could get fiber, and it's still not available, but good news, you can have speeds up to 50 megabits per second.
Just say,
over just 2 wires.
You're on Time Warner? Time Warner doesn't have it? Isn't that where you guys are, Time Warner?
Yeah. No, they don't have fiber.
I've got fiber, but I have an old modem.
I can get it.
If I dropped $150 for a new modem, I double my speed immediately. But I'm also, for some reason, only connecting at 100 megabit right now instead of gigabit Ethernet.
That's exactly what John was talking about while you were gone. That's exactly what John did.
The wiring of internet in my house is a disaster as it is, and I can't wait to move and like run everything through walls. But for now, we just have to deal with broken washing machines and falling apart refrigerators. See, Sarah, I want to do my own wiring, but I'm just not comfortable with it. And I'm also terrified of electricity.
Well, it's not electricity.
Yes, but
it's
electricity adjacent.
Even I
Electricity
will
is easy.
do wiring.
Well,
I even make my own Cat 5s, although I know Cat 5s are old now. But trust me, you're not more afraid of electricity than I am. And John will attest to that.
I've been hit by 5 volts, 10 milliamps. It still sucks.
Oh, stop it.
That's what I'm talking about, John. That's what I'm talking about. That's why it terrifies me right there.
It's 5
I've
volt.
seen it happen.
No.
Oh, my God.
You've licked a 9-volt battery before.
I've licked a Polaroid battery. That's why I'm scared. I've been hit by 220.
I've been hit by 220.
Yeah.
Now,
Sarah, he's actually sucked on several network cables, but that's for a whole different thing. That's a different show. We'll talk about that later.
That's PHPUgly After Dark. No, I remember you can't.
John's got the voice.
You can't run normal network cable. You have to run the plenum non-plenum network cable, because inside the walls it gets too warm and emits a gas that can kill you.
I don't know about that. Maybe I was doing it wrong. I used to love making Cat 5 cables.
Me too. Like I said, when I was at Microskills, we did that all the time. And then I had to do it recently, and it took like 15 attempts to get a good connection. It's like, I have lost
Why when we had our office, you made me do all the Cat 5 cables?
Because it's terrible.
I did a few.
You love doing it.
I don't know. I did a few of them. I don't know. Just trying to share the love, man. Oh, John told somebody today that we've been married for like 9 years, and I think or not today. I think that was yesterday. I think the person freaked out a little bit, which I don't know why that would freak them out nowadays, but just the way John said it. He was an older man. Neither one of us corrected him on his assumption. He was just like, John's like, yeah, we've been married for like 9 years. And he was like, oh.
He stumbled on his words, like.
Okay, all right. I'm like, I'm not going to correct him. I don't care what he thinks. You know, like, what's the problem?
I mean, if you think about it, the law in California isn't 9 years old, is it? You would have had to get married the day of the signing.
I have friends that have been.
Do you think he was paying that much attention to the time frame?
Yeah.
My goodness.
I mean, I got friends that got married right away. How old have Freddie and Clem been married?
I think my friend's been married for 12.
Like over 9 years. Yeah, I was gonna say it feels like it's longer than 9 years because I know the kids were real young when it happened. I don't know. I don't remember.
Well, it happened twice in California because it got pulled back and then started again. I thought.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. Yeah, you're right. I kind of remember that. Is there anywhere in the U.S. it's still not legal?
State
really?
law, but I believe federal law acknowledges it. So state law, there was the whole situation with that one woman who wouldn't marry a gay couple, and
that's a whole nother level of ignorance.
Yeah.
But is it not? Is there any state that is still not legal? It's got to be legal everywhere by now, right? I mean, it's. I can't even. I don't know. I don't follow it that closely, obviously, but.
Wow. Yeah. That is a hideous map.
What?
Statutes banning
really?
banning same-sex marriage and civil unions, statutory benefits of illegal marriage to non-marital relationships. Texas, Utah.
Of course, Texas. Fucking Texas.
There's
Utah
so
makes idiots.
Constitutional amendments banning same-sex unions depending on state.
Oh, holy
So the
crap.
Supreme Court,
Yeah, look at that.
the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage, and that applies nationwide, except
How do these states operate?
except that the states have their own bans.
Whatever. That's another reason why I'm not moving to Texas. Right there. Illinois is legal. I've been looking at Chicago lately. I think I can become a Cubs fan. Chicago's got some good housing prices, man. I'm telling you right
Chicago.
now. What's wrong with Chicago? Chicago's beautiful. I went there for Laracon. So we'd gone to Chicago several times for PHP Tech, but we only stayed at the hotel by the airport, and I never really went exploring. One time with Jose, actually, we went downtown and went up in the
that must have been
skyscraper.
fun.
Laracon was. Oh, it was. I still have. It's one of the pictures I have hanging up on my wall here. It was a fantastic experience, but Laracon had the thing in Chicago, and I stayed like downtown Chicago and just had a blast and went to a Cubs game. I could totally see living in Chicago. It wouldn't take anything from
That
me to move
reminds me. Longhorn PHP. October 14th to 16th. Are you guys planning on going?
there. Going? I'm planning on that. I don't think.
Negative.
No.
You going?
I thought we.
I mean, I could be talked into it.
Yeah. My company has a headquarters in Austin, so they'll pay to get me out there.
Oh, well, there you go. Oh, hey, John, you're going to be getting stickers tomorrow. Not Uggo stickers, because I didn't get those ordered yet. But
Why have I not seen any of these designs?
I don't.
These are
They're
the
in
other
Slack.
stickers. The normal.
They're the stickers we already had. I was going to put our new logo on a sticker, and then I had a complete brain fart and forgot to do it. But they'll be coming in.
Okay.
So, Sarah's going to
Yeah.
Longhorn.
Why don't we do a Longhorn episode? Okay. So now I've ruined it for Eric. He's like, I was thinking about going, but recording an episode there, no.
Listen, I honestly didn't think I was going to go to a baseball game this year, and I ended up going to one last week, and I'm going to another one in a few weeks. And I don't know, man. It's like now that they've lifted the mandates and stuff, I'm like, I definitely wouldn't mind getting out. I just don't think I'm ready to get. I don't really want to get on a plane right now. But October is still quite a ways away. I don't know.
I'm getting on one in a few weeks.
Where are you going?
Right, you're going to Florida. You need to tell me how that experience is, because I think that's really going to dictate to me whether or not I consider it.
Well, keep it in your minds, because I'd like to get together again. It's been like 3 years since we all hung out. Well, since I hung out with you guys.
I mean, honestly, it's been almost 2 years since I've hung out with John, so you're not that far off.
So
I mean, John and I haven't seen each other. We crossed paths one day when we were moving out of the office, and he was leaving and I was literally coming in. We saw each other, but I haven't hung out with John. I don't know when. I don't know when the last time you and I hung out. I mean, before the pandemic, clearly.
See, you should consider it.
Are you
should
frozen,
definitely
John?
consider it. Is he frozen, or is he just holding really still?
I can never tell with him, and none of his lights are blinking behind him, so.
Oh yeah, he's frozen.
Okay. He's been having all sorts of system issues. He was losing his shit the other night.
I know.
Which is very.
We're never going to get System 76 as a sponsor. That's for sure. Well, I'm gonna close down the stream. Thank you everybody for watching.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you, Sarah, for mega colon blow. It has been 30 years since I thought about that.
What is a mega colon blow? We didn't come. Nobody suggested show titles. God damn it! I think we just call this one Livewire.
Here we go.
I miss him.
Yeah.
Phil Hartman. He was funny.
I'm sorry I can't do audio through, although it's probably good that we're not doing audio of this through Twitch. Got into a fight. Got into an argument about SNL with my friend the other day. He was telling me SNL is still good, and I said it hasn't been good for 20 years. And
I think
I asked him to name a good sketch from the last 20 years. And he tried real hard.
All right, man. I'm gonna drop off.
All right. Looks like John's
Thanks everybody
out.
for hanging